On Thursday night, 9 o'clock, time for the Handicap Rugby Chat That Matters. Well, I'm back after a week in George watching scoreboard rugby. I must admit that was very enjoyable indeed, but good to be back in the hot seat again. And I've got a top-class panel to take you through. Let's start at the top of the screen there. It's Thoughts on Sports. Thoughts on Sports. I know you're under big work pressure, but I'm sure you're looking forward to some great rugby this weekend.
No, Brent, awesome to be back. I guess you could say work pressure. Is it the rugby punting pressure, or is it the actual 9 to 5 that we speak of? But besides that, over the moon, so much rugby to talk through. I've got some absolute cracking fancies. To be honest, this is one of the weekends I've been targeting for a while. There's just so much value on offer. So looking forward to sharing it with the viewers out there.
Excellent. Well, before I welcome the next guest, welcome to the boys who are already on the live chat. Mark Dunphy saying everyone bet against Leinster last week. Shame. Yeah, big win for Leinster against Leicester. Well, I did feel, Mark, and I'm a big Leinster fan, that Leinster certainly got the rub of the green as far as everything went in that particular game. And WJ is also coming in as well. I imagine there's some Premiership as well. I hardly even get time to look at the Premiership these days, but if you've got any selections, let us know. Right, Undertaker, welcome back. I know you've done a lot of fishing and that of late, but also been in some good form on the rugby front.
How's it, Brent? Yeah, thanks for having me on again. Yeah, I had a good weekend last weekend, and I'm looking forward to this weekend. Also, I have a few fancies like Neil. Yeah, a bit nervous because there's a few bets that looks almost too easy. So yeah, a bit nervous about that. From experience, it should not be like that. But yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, if too many punters are nodding their heads in agreement, so you think to yourself, something must be wrong. Just before we get in, if you do enjoy the show, please hit us with a like. And if you want to subscribe yet, hit the subscribe button. It does help the channel a lot. Right, let's get into the action, though, guys. We're going to start off with Super Rugby, and I'm going to stay with you, Henrik, for the first game. It's Moana Pacifica against the Reds. This handicap's been moving quite a bit this week, so I'm not even sure. I did take this about an hour, I think, before the show. Plus 2.5 Pacifica. There was plus 6.5, plus 7.5 early in the week. And the money has come. I must admit, I didn't get my money down early, but I'm not surprised to see that handicap move, because I priced this as, I think, plus 1.5 Pacifica, because, of course, they played in Samoa. What do you make of this one, Henrik?
Yeah, Brent, for us South Africans, a nice 6 o'clock kickoff tomorrow morning. So a nice early Friday game for us. I haven't got a cent down on this yet. I see all the sentiment on Moana Pacifica, and I would not tell anyone not to back them. At this stage, I'm not sure about this game. I think points is maybe the way to go here. I'll probably have a bet on this one before I go to bed this evening, because it is an early kickoff. I'll go and have a look at the weather prediction, which I haven't done yet for up here. And yeah, probably go Moana overs, maybe even total overs. If the weather prediction is good, this type of game, like we've seen with the Drua home games in Fiji as well, it tends to go to points. So probably overs on total points. The Reds have been dreadful. So there's not much going for them. So you kind of have to take them on. But I'm nervous about the Moana Pacifica. I'm not sure about them. I hear all the sentiment with this being their home game in Samoa. I'm more of a fan of the Drua in Fiji than I would be of Moana in Samoa. So for me, I'm not going to have a bet on Moana Pacifica to win the game or the plus. I'll look at overs on total points here.
Right, and WJ is just coming in saying the line is 61.5 for this match. Thoughts on sports? Is this one of your big fancies? Are you getting up Friday to watch this before work?
Yeah, Brent, remains to be seen if I do awaken for this fixture. But to be honest, this is probably one of the trickier Super Rugby games of the weekend for me. You got both two teams obviously not in the best run of form. Pacifica yet to clock the dub on the score sheet. Reds just a lot. I think there's quite a bit happening behind the scenes with Brad Thorne looks to be leaving the reins at the end of the season. Handicap obviously started at about 6.5, and I think that probably would have been the right way to go on that Pacifica plus, drifted into the 2.5 here. But for me, there's just not too much value over in this game. Points line of 61.5, but I do see that the humidity is sitting at around 80% with some sort of scattered thunderstorms earlier throughout the day. So that sort of leads me to be a bit cautious on that overs, which I think would have been the play over for this fixture. as Henrik mentioned, I do think that the Pacific are playing at home in Samoa. It's not quite the same beast as Fiji over in Sartoga and whatnot. But I just think that you're getting close to I think you can get about 7 to 10 for the Reds to win, and that has to be the call in this fixture. It's a tentative call because obviously they don't play too many games over in Samoa for Pacific, and Aaron Major would have rallied up his troops accordingly for this. But I just think that Brad Thorne knows what it takes to win a tough game. He's done it in past seasons in sort of edging out the Brumbies over in Brisbane and choice games and the likes. So 7 to 10 for the Reds is my pick in this.
I like Farid's comment here. Line moves like crazy. Lots of foolish money for Moana. Unfortunately, some of that mine. But yeah, fair enough. I think this is, and the reason I haven't really climbed into Moana, is because as much as I think they were the value at +6.5, +7.5, I just struggle to trust them. I mean, when a side hasn't won a game, it is difficult to they probably might have a bit of a block against getting over the line. And Farid also saying there, oh, sorry, I hit the wrong button. Lights on. Let's go. Peter Paul's just come back from load shedding. Moana don't have the ability to stay for the 80, and that is certainly a concern. Thoughts on sports? We're going to stay with you for the next game, and it is Brumbies against the Fijian Drua. I had a quick look now. The points line on this game is 62.5, and we've got a handicap of Brumbies -18.5.
Yeah, Brent, for me, I was very much eyeing up a Brumbies overs. I think you could get it at about 40.5 or there and thereabouts. But that ship sailed for me. I'm going to be ignoring that one after I spotted the young Damon Murphy on the whistle for this. He's a massive concern for any overs backers there. He just sort of always blows into, he's sort of the Brendan Pickerel of 2 or 3 seasons ago, where he just looks to penalise the attacking side at any sort of opportunity. So I just can't get behind that. The conditions look great in Canberra. So at 18.5, I'm quite liking a Drua unders play here. I think you can crack it at about, it looks at about 22.5 or 23.5. I think that should be the play. Brumbies defense has been leaky at times, but if they can keep 15 men on the park in this one, I think they should shore that one up. They've really picked quite a powerhouse side for this. They're not taking this Drua side lightly. They've been able to see what the Drua have caused a couple of upsets so far. -18.5, I think it should arrive, but if that arrives, then the unders for the Drua arrives as well. So firmer play on the unders in this one and light on the handicap.
Interesting theory there, because I know I think it kind of fits in very much where Henrik is on this one. I think it was either on the forum or on Twitter. I saw from you, Henrik, you were kind of saying you like the Brumbies on the minus, but at the same time, given that, you actually like the unders on Drua as well.
Yeah, it's like Neil has read my mental notes here. He's spoken exactly what I'm thinking of this one, except that, like I said on Twitter, I like the under 21.5 Drua, but I prefer the minus after I like because he said if the minus comes through, the unders will come through as well. I prefer the other way around. If the unders come through, the minus will come through, in my opinion. And I share his thoughts on Damon Murphy. He penalizes the attacking team a lot, and it's like he doesn't like positive play. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not a fan of his, even though I've always been unders type of. I like I like unders on points, but this season with the Super Rugby, I've moved to overs more because it's tough going unders in this competition with all the Lord Challenge stuff. The points keep coming. So yeah, the minus for me, I like the minus a lot. And like he said, the Brumbies, they've picked like almost their strongest side. The Drua, I've had a look at that last week off, but the previous game in Fiji against the Rebels, obviously in Fiji, they picked their strongest side. And I don't know the Drua side that well. I know a few players, but I've compared the two sides, and there's a lot of changes. So this is obviously not their strongest side. And going to Canberra against the Brumbies, which in my opinion is the second best team in the competition after the Chiefs. I think that -18 is way too low. I could see the Brumbies winning by 30+ here. I think and obviously Neil is onto something with the unders. I like that unders as well under Drua. And I'd be surprised if the Drua scored 3 tries here. They'd be lucky to get 2 against this Brumbies side. Maybe 1 or 2 penalties. So yeah, they're not getting more than 20 points here. No chance, in my opinion. So and then the Brumbies, yeah, obviously then the overs looks good as well. But yeah,
At
the draw one.
40.5.
Yeah, but the draw won't get close to 20. The draw will get about 13 to 15 points thereabouts max, in my opinion. In this game, the Brumbies obviously taking it very seriously. I can see the Brumbies winning, going away here. So yeah, I like the Brumbies strong. This is one of my stronger bets of the weekend. And like I said, the Brumbies, in my opinion, second best team in the competition, and the Chiefs at the moment, they are unbeaten, only unbeaten side. And I've had a look at the fixtures, and this is the Chiefs' first loss will be in Canberra.
Okay, well, that's one to look ahead for. Mad Dog Odds just making the point in this. I won't bring up all his comments in the live chat. He says Murphy's never reffed a game in the last 2 years that has broken this total. So backing up what you guys say there. So interesting. All three of us with slightly different strategies, but at the same time very much in alignment. You like the Brumbies minus. Neil is going for the unders on the Drew, and I actually like the Brumbies overs here at 40.5. So all three of us could potentially win this game with a nice big Brumbies win, and let's hope it goes that way. Henrik, I'm going to stay with you for the next game. It's the Hurricanes, a +1.5 here against the Chiefs. I was surprised at this, and I'm also a little bit surprised that it hasn't moved. I capped this game like Chiefs. I think it was -6.5 or -5.5. I did think they would be firmer favourites, but I guess if you look at the Hurricanes, they're sitting top of the table, albeit having played a game more.
Now, Brent, like you, I'm very surprised that there has been as little movement as there has been. There's almost been no movement in this game. Especially on the handicap and the outright to win the game. The Chiefs must be at least 6.5 points favourites here. And at that line, I'd still take the minus, in my opinion. It's an afternoon game. It moved to an afternoon game from an evening game because they have some sort of issue with the floodlights that has to be repaired. So this is a nice afternoon game in Wellington. Bit windy, but apart from that, not very, very much wind, but windy. Wellington's always windy, but nice conditions for afternoon game. The Hurricanes, they are top, like you said, but they have played one game more than the Chiefs. The Hurricanes, they've scored a lot of points. Chiefs, they've scored in 2 games. They've scored a lot of points against weaker teams. Strangely, against the more tighter games, better teams, they haven't. It hasn't been that high scoring for the Chiefs. So I'm a bit not sure about total points here because the Chiefs they've been stingy. I like the Chiefs overs here. I think that 25.5 is way too low. The line should be about 27, 28, at least 27, maybe, probably 28 to make you that four converted tries to just put a bit of concern into your mind. Not sure which way to go on that. 25.5 is too low in my opinion, and I think that's a very good bet on the overs. But the Chiefs to win the game, if you can get 8 to 10, which you should get, you should take that, and that's also one of the better bets of the weekend. This is a good Hurricanes team, but this Chiefs team is very well coached, and I think the 8 to 10 is way too high. They should be about 11 to 20 max, 5 to 10 thereabouts for the win. So the minus obviously is a good bet as well.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you there. I do like the Chiefs. Interestingly enough, Neil, on this game, when I wrote the preview for Good for the Game, well, I did the betting verdict for Good for the Game, the points line was sitting at 47.5, and Chiefs points you could get at that stage, I think, at 23, 24.5. I see now, I'm just looking at player bets. I always look for the points updates. I see this has moved to like 52.5 now, and Chiefs points up to sort of 27.5. Any idea why the line was so low? Perhaps because they thought it was a nighttime game and then brought it back? Because the conditions seem to have looked good all week as far as I've been able to tell.
No, Brent, I think they were just sort of dandling out the bait for punters like us to pounce on it. But yeah, just getting stuck into the action. I've been quite a firm Chiefs punter all week, but after sort of the sides came out, I'm a little bit nervous on that note. I look at that Hurricane side, and it's pretty much as good as a Hurricane side can pick. Sort of the likes of Severe back at 8 is massive, and for me the big thing which sort of puts me off a bit is that centre pairing of Geordie Barrett and Peter Umaga Jensen. Heaps of experience there, both sort of two game breakers. And if I look at the Chiefs, where they're really sort of lacking I guess you could say a bit of an experience and sort of X factors definitely in that centre berth of Pahipi and Daniel Rona there. Two good players in their own right, but definitely don't sort of carry the weight that Geordie and Peter Magajensen would have. So I think for me, that's I'm a little bit nervous about that. So it's a type of fixture that you just hope that Chiefs have to start well. If they can sort of keep the scores level at about 10-15, then that Chiefs board's a serious runner. But I wouldn't be surprised to see the Hurricanes sort of run out at sort of 2 quick tries in the first 15 to 20 minutes and really puts the bet on the line here. So it's a type of bet which I was very confident on early in the week. But I think that the bookmakers are actually onto something in keeping this game close to a choice. I don't think you can underestimate the Hurricanes over in Wellington. Chiefs are exceptionally well-coached side, fantastic set piece. But also another thing that makes me a little bit nervous is seeing Damian McKenzie over in the 10 jumper, especially in these close New Zealand derbies. He's a fantastic player, but I way prefer him to have him at the back and just look to sort of exploit any sort of weaknesses in the counter-attacking opportunities. I don't want his mind running on sort of managing the game and looking to kick the 3-pointers here. I way prefer sort of a loose and free Damian McKenzie here. So I would have preferred if the Chiefs had sort of opted for a Brent Graham type play in the 10 jumper here. I know it's not everyone's biggest fan, but he does sort of bring a bit of a calmness to the fixture here. So for me, this is the banana peel of the weekend. I'm a Chiefs backer here, but a tentative one as such.
Right, and just to mention that Oraclepedia has joined us in now. And Oracle's got also, he mentioned to me, a load shedding tonight. He didn't think he'd be able to watch the show, but good to have you on, Oracle. Right, yeah, that game. I mean, I like the Chiefs, but I hear what, all things considered, taking into account the live chat as well, it's one to probably tread a little bit carefully on. I also really liked overs at 47.5, but at current levels, sort of around the 52 mark, not as keen. Neil, we'll stick with you for the next game. We've got the Waratahs here playing against the Western Force. I think both these sides coming off buys. The Waratahs last game, they came very close to beating the Brumbies in Canberra. And the Western Force, well, that was your best bet of the weekend. You were on 2 weeks ago, Neil, and you said Force, it was plus 21.5 against, was it the Hurricanes or the Highlanders?
Yeah, Hurricanes, yeah.
And they were well down at one point, I believe. I didn't get up for that one, and we made it our best bet in the newsletter as well. And in the end, they only lost by 3 points, 45-42. What do you make of this game?
Sure, Brent. This one's got me scratching my head all weekend. I think it opened up at about 6.5 or so, and I was leaning Waratahs at that stage. And then once team news came about, much to sort of my bemusement, the Western Force sort of named I guess you could say, a weaker side and such, in that sort of key players in key positions weren't available. For me, most notably is they've picked Jake Strachan at number 10. He's very much sort of a makeshift outside back, spends most of his time at fullback, and then also spends some time over on the wing there. So there's sort of a bit of a rejig there. Previously, they've picked Hamish Stewart at 10, who I'm a massive fan of, who's made his way across to Western Australia from the Reds in the off season, and they went for sort of Bailey Kunzel at number 12, the ex Brumby there. But now rejig, not too happy with that. Kept Hamish Stewart at 12, which I do believe is his best position, and Jake Strachan to 10. But for me, that just sort of sends alarm bells running throughout. But I do think that there's heaps of quality scattered throughout this Western Four side. I've been following the likes of Sam Spink and Zach Kibarigi over in the Premiership, and Gareth Simpson, who've made their way down to Perth for this. So there's lots of sort of players with lots of quality there, and I think that often the bookmakers underestimate those types of players when they look at the team sheets here. And just touching on the Waratah side, it's just ripe for disappointment. You look at their side week in, week out, 1-15, they just look so strong on paper. You just have to think that they can smash the handicaps, but they just don't seem to get that sort of continuity into play. Just can't get the best out of sort of the players that they have around them. But I just think that back in Sydney on their home turf, minus 11.5, it is a big spread, but I just expect a massive Waratahs comeback. I was very buoyed on by the fact that they ran the Brumbies quite close in Canberra a couple of weeks ago. So minus 11.5, I just think you have to take the Waratahs in this one.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And interesting what you said about the move. I saw they did open, I think, minus 6.5. I actually, assuming strength v strength, I went minus 10.5. So very much where I thought. But if I'm leaning towards the Waratahs here. Just Hendrik, we got a points line of 58.5. Anything catch your eye on this one?
Brent, strangely, this points line opened something like 47-48.5. That was available yesterday. There's obviously way too low. It's at the right line now, but I'd still take the overs here. The Aussie derbies, they've been very high scoring, and this game just feels like it will be a high scorer as well. It's in Sydney, conditions should be good. Angus Gardner is the ref. He's an overs ref, in my opinion. I like the overs here. I like the Waratahs overs. I like the total overs. I think the Force will contribute here. The type of backline they've picked, it looks like a positive type of backline. You've got Chase Tia at fullback. He's a positive player. He doesn't kick a lot. He'd rather run it back. That type of player. This just feels like one of those Aussie games that we've had this year that could end up like 70, 80 points. I won't be surprised if we get that. So I like the Waratahs overs and I like the total overs. Initially, I liked the Waratahs minus as well at 6 to 8.5 thereabouts. 11.5. I'm getting a bit concerned because the Force, they have played well. Like Neil said they've made a few changes, but they are well coached. Kevin Foot. No, who's coaching them? It's Kevin Foot, the Rebels coach. But they are well coached and they look good. So this year, a few games that they were not fancied at all by the bookmakers, they came really close. So I'm concerned about that for the minus. But the Force, they've scored points. I can see them contributing here. So I like the Waratahs overs and I like the total overs. Total overs, my fancy. Over anything under 60.5, I'll take the overs here.
The overs there. Well, just to mention, I'll be getting up probably for the Hurricanes Chiefs game because every now and again I do these ridiculous things, and my son's got a big, let's call it a local derby rugby match on Saturday. And I said at the start of the week, if I don't lose 4 kilograms, I'm not going to go and watch the game. Now, there's absolutely no chance that I'm not going to watch the game. I've managed to drop a couple so far. But I think there's a good chance Saturday morning I'm going to have to be on the exercise bike in front of the TV in a big, heavy tracksuit, trying to sweat off the last kilogram or so I can go and watch my son play rugby. So I think I will be watching there. Right, gents, let's move on to URC. And Henrik, I'll stay with you here. We've got the Sharks against Benetton. I think this handicap has been fairly stable all week. Sharks minus 15.5. I was initially thinking Sharks big win here, but Benetton have sent a pretty decent squad over to South Africa.
Yeah, Benetton, I saw the squad yesterday. It's a very good squad. It's the best squad they can send here. I've seen this handicap come into 13.5 with a few bookmakers. So there is movement on Benetton. Sharks game, strangely in Durban, there has been some points. I remember that Munster game now where they wasn't like 80 points in Durban, something like that. So I can see there being points here. Benetton points line is about 18, 19.5 here. I think Benetton can contribute here. So I like the Benetton overs and I like the plus here. It's a very strong Sharks team on paper. Only Ruan Janssen van Rensburg out and Ben Tapawai in his place. I think Benetton on the plus here and also Benetton overs.
Right, Neil, yourself on this game?
Yeah, Brent, there's only one way to go for me, and that's Sharks on the minus over in this one, just for a couple of reasons. Benetton are absolute force to be reckoned with over in Treviso in Italy. But as soon as sort of the bags get packed, as soon as they say goodbye to the mum's home cooking, the wheels just fall off for Benetton here. And if you watch that Sharks performance last weekend against Toulouse, I think that they were very much in the game for 60 minutes, competing at the set piece, were very much alert. They're a team that really wanted to win. And just with the way that the URC is positioned at the moment, the Sharks need 5 points in order to have a slim hope of qualifying for the playoffs. And I think that will be the message throughout the camp. They've stacked the troops this weekend. There's going to be sort of no respite for Benetton. I've got massive respect for this Benetton side. It's a very strong side that they have sent out. But traveling away from home all the way down to South Africa, I guess the weather's a lot milder over in Italy, but you're still traveling across to Durban. It's still going to reach the 25 to 26. Tough week of training. It's just no easy place to go and play. And I just think that the Sharks will be massively up for this one. So minus 14, minus 15.5, you can still get that. I think that's an absolutely cracking punt.
Well, interesting, because as Hendrik said, the line potentially coming the other way. So even maybe worth waiting a bit there, Neil, and taking with 13.5 or 12.5 becomes available. I'm with you. I do like the Sharks on this one.
Yeah, Brent, to be honest, I don't think the handicap will move too much before kickoff. Sort of all the news is available to all the punters out there. I think the shrewd punters would have made their move. So I can't see any more movement. So I think it does settle at the 14, 15 and a half, but I just can't shake the feeling that the Sharks pull one over and put in a proper display here.
So I'm just smiling to myself as well. I've been doing the odd comment in the live chat, and I can do it from the studio here. But a while ago, I started broadcasting the show. It goes to my Twitter, I think it is, and it goes to the YouTube. But then I also linked it up with Oracle's YouTube. But what I didn't realize is when I comment from inside here, I actually comment on both of our chats. So I thought Oracle and I, we keep making the same comment, we must be on the same wavelength. So Oracle's not actually watching the show. That's me commenting on Oracle's channel. So anyway, just a bit of a chuckle there for me on that one. Right, Neil, let's stick with you. We got the Glasgow Warriors here, minus 17.5 against the Scarlets. Big handicap this, but yeah, our Warriors coming off a victory last week against the Lions. They should be too good, but will they beat the Cap?
Yeah, Brent, I think you mustn't underestimate this Glasgow side, especially what Franco Smith is able to do since he's taken the reins after getting sort of axed as the Italian coach there. He did some great work for the Cheetahs before he got that Italian gig, sort of tried to encourage the Italians to play enterprising rugby. But that's never going to work with sort of the assets that you have at your disposal, especially playing in sort of tough Northern Hemisphere conditions. But once again, with Glasgow, he's got heaps of talent available. I see he's made a couple of sort of positional switches. He hasn't picked his best side, but it's still very much a strong side. Scarlets, on the other hand, have picked definitely a weaker side. They sort of got one eye on that European knockouts coming up. So I just up against Toulon. So I think this game's going to have heaps of points. I think it's sitting at about 56, 57.5. That's not enough in this. I'm quite strong on that Glasgow overs. I do think that they cover the Cap, but I also do think Scarlets contributes to this. So happy to take the total overs in this game at 56.5. I think that's an absolutely cracking play. Weather looks fantastic as well.
Yeah, no, I also like the overs play there. In fact, I generally like overs in Glasgow games as well. Let's go to Henrik here on this one. Henrik, I see Stephen Mark saying Scarlets on the plus and Farid agreeing with him. Where are you going on this?
Yeah, Brent, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I'm with Neil here on the overs. I like the overs on total because Scarlets, they have scored a few points, and also the overs on the Glasgow. Yeah, like you mentioned, Scarlets making a few changes. This game just seems like a game that should have points. So I'm going to stay out of the handicap here. Overs on total points for me here.
Right, let's stick with you for the next game. We've got a big handicap here. Ulster minus 25.5 against the Dragons. Ulster, of course, very much still in contention for second place on the log, fighting against the Stormers here. And I had a quick look at player bets and see a line. Points are 54.5. This is not a game I'm particularly excited about. There's just so much other rugby this weekend. Anything for you here, Henrik?
Same as you, Brent. I haven't had a good look at this one. I would lean minus on Ulster, even though it's a big minus. I've quickly had a look at the Dragons team, and I see guys like Rio Dwyer starting and that. But yeah, I just feel that Ulster might cover this one. 54.5. It sounds low. I haven't had a look at the weather in Belfast, but yeah, I think the overs might be the way to go here, and Ulster minus.
Neil, it's a brave man. It climbs into the Dragons plus.
Yeah, Brent, that's not going to be the brave man for me today. I think it's Ulster all the way here. Less fancy on the plus. To be honest, I think there are heaps of other bets available. So this one you see sort of a bit of beer money if I end up watching the game on that Friday night. But I think that the value has to lie in total overs here. It's a weak Dragon side that they have picked. Couple of debutants getting handed out here. So I think that over 54.5 is the right way to go, and then also that Ulster over 40.5 is a good one as well.
Right, let's stick with you for the next one, and this is the first of a double header at Ellis Park. I am planning to go next week to the double header at Loftus because I'd like to wear my Leinster jersey there. I guess I could have done that. I could have done that at Ellis Park as they play the Lions, but I'd rather go to Loftus, quite frankly. We've got the Bulls here, big handicap, Neil, minus 24.5. I'll quickly give you a points line now. What have we got here? On the wrong website. Oh, I don't have a points line, sorry. But I think it was out earlier in the week. but we got minus 24.5 Bulls.
Yeah, Brent, I think that the bookmakers have to be very brave to price it for points line here, because I think anything under 70, I'll be looking at an overstrike here. There's going to be 1 million points in this game. I haven't managed to see who the ref is for this weekend, but I just think I just hope that the Bulls haven't been practicing their defense all week, because they've been leaking points in whatever competition that they've played against, bar sort of the game against the Griquas last weekend. And I do feel like there's massive bounce back from the Bulls across sort of all competitions this week. Minus 24.5, I think, going to absolutely romp home in this cap. They're going to beat this by sort of 35 points in this one. Big sort of reaction expected. It's a 1 o'clock kickoff in Ellis Park. I think the weather should be fantastic. Ripe surface, no games getting played on prior to that. So this is ripe for the Bulls taking. Minus 24.5, the message will be clear. It's 5 points or no deal if you want to sniff of the playoffs here. So Bulls out of the Champions Cup, only one way to go, and that's to smash this handicap. So minus 24.5 the call, and itching for a low points line as well.
Yeah, I'm very much aligned with you there. In fact, if anything, Henrik, I'm looking for a Bulls points here, because like Neil, I really expect them to come out firing. They're going to rack up those four points or bonus points for the 4 tries pretty quickly. The only worry is, do they step off the gas at some stage, which could be a bit of a problem for the handicap. But I'm very much aligned with Neil. I like the minus, but I'm waiting for a Bulls points line.
Brent, I'm with you guys. I also like the Bulls here. I think they can cover the minus, and points should be the way to go. The only concern, and Neil said he's not sure who the ref is. I quickly had a look at the refs for the URC. I see Holly Davidson, Scottish female referee. She is the ref for this one. So that is an interesting one. I think I follow her on Twitter. I've seen her, but I haven't seen a ref URC games. So this is a bit of a step up for her, in my opinion. She might have refed games at this level. But yeah, Scottish female ref for this one. So hopefully she lets it flow. It's in the early kickoff in Johannesburg. This one, I think it's 1 o'clock or something like that. So they really should be points. And yeah, Bulls points and minus, obviously the way to go, yeah.
Excellent. Can't wait for those quotes to come out, Henrik. We're going to stay with you. Big moves in this game. So this is quite interesting, because Leinster opened up 6.5, 7.5 point favourites. Now, when I handicapped this game, I assumed that Leinster would send a weakened side over, and I still handicapped Leinster's favourites. But what I didn't realise was just how far into their depth they were going to go. So I was thinking along the lines of the type of strength that even Tourdier last year. And it appears from, and Mark Dunphy was telling me, this is really, they got academy or guys that are just shy of the academy playing here. And there has been a big movement. Obviously, Lions now favourites here at 1.5. I'm assuming you probably got on the early Lions plus.
No, I didn't. I wish I did. I wanted to get on it, but I missed it. So I didn't get on that plus 5.5, plus 6.5 thereabouts. I think the Lions is the way to go. Yeah, obviously, like everybody has been on Lions, but points more for me. I'm not gonna back the Lions to win this. They should win it, but I'm not gonna back them. I'd rather focus on points. This game screams points. I think with all the young players in the Leinster team and the untested combinations, they will probably play positive rugby as well, like Leinster do. But I can see the Lions playing a fast-paced game here and trying to run them off their feet here, like the Lions of old. I like the Lions overs and I like the total overs. I think Lions overs is at 27.5. I like that a lot. I think the Lions will score more than 27 points here.
Yeah, I think that's a cracking bet. 7 of the Leinster squad are eligible for the under-20s. Well, that gives you an indication how young the side are. Plenty of comments, but I want to go back up to 1. And it's Mark Dunphy coming in again. I just want to say, when the undertaker goes overs, people take notice. And when Mark Dunphy bets against Leinster, you simply have to take notice of that. Because Mark, I can tell you, does not bet against Leinster very often. So he's going against them there. But let's get Neil's views on this one. Neil, I'm sure also you are supportive of the early plus there, but is there still value in this Lions team?
No, Brent, there's cracking value in this Lions team. I was one of the lucky few who managed to give the kitchen sink a good go at the Lions plus early in the week. But I'm not going to sort of write home too much about it until the bet sale. But to get the Lions on the board at close to 9 to 10 against an academy outfit sporting, I would guess the average age of the side they're going to pass is about 22, 23 over there. And this Lions side is no mugs. They went over to Glasgow, a full strength Glasgow side, and lost by 10 points, smashed the handicap by more than a converted try.
Dominated the second half, didn't they? They just couldn't score.
100%. They're just really much punching above their weight. It's a good line side, no matter which way you want to drill it down. A lot of punters out there like to sort of pull apart this line side and look for sort of the bad things. But the results in the handicap sort of beats remain the same, and this line side has to be taken seriously. So for me, you're getting close to a 9 to 10 against the traveling side, and that's not even factoring sort of the altitude factor at play. Put it this way: if this was a full strength Leinster side, I would put this handicap at about sort of 18, 19 and a half, and down to a B side maybe at about 6.5, and now you're down to a C side. So I think that the value lies with the Lions. 9 to 10 is an absolute cracker. Get all over it, and that Lions over 27.5 is an absolute stinker. It'll sell through in the first half of this. So big on the Lions in this one.
Cool. This is going to be an exciting afternoon. Farid making the comment: second teams lose 90% of the time, third teams never win. And on that note, you go down and subscribe to our Best Bet newsletter down below if you haven't done that yet. It might be coming out earlier than expected tomorrow because the boys have made some pretty strong arguments, and I, for one, have been swung quite heavily during the course of the show. We'll stick with Neil for the next game. It's involved South African side, the Stormers. They're minus 6.5 against Munster here, and I haven't had too close a look, Neil, but I understand Munster putting out a pretty strong side.
Yeah, Brent, this is quite a difficult one for a number of reasons. Munster's sort of been a big side on the up. I know it loves to oppose Munster in this, but I still think they offer some good value often against the handicaps here. But just traveling down to Cape Town, believe me, it's no easy feat. You're up against sort of a 20,000 plus crowd over there. Stormers also love to play on their home turf. Their defense really shores up. They don't sort of give the opposition a sniff. That's why I'd like them a bit tentative on the overs. I think the overs line sitting at about 50.5. So weather's looking fantastic in Cape Town on the weekend. So that definitely would be a fancy of mine, that overs there. But I think that you have to give full value to the Stormers on the minus here. People forget that traveling away to Exeter Chiefs last weekend was never going to be an easy accomplishment. Chiefs have won 20 of the last 22 games over at Sandy Park. Whether they're fielding sort of the strong side of 2020 or sort of the side that they put out now, it's seriously no easy task to go over to Devon. So I think that people are sort of discouraging the Stormers here. Playing host to a Munster side, Evan Roos getting introduced from the bench this weekend. I just can't see anything else but a resounding Stormers victory. Munster won't be able to live up to that Stormers sort of tight five, and that defense is going to be rock solid. So full value on the minus, and I do think that there will be points. So over 50.5, just because the points lines is a bit low for me.
Right, for reading green with you there. Henrik, let's see what you think of this one. I know you mentioned last week what a big loss Dion Fourie was to the Stormers side, and I think you could see that against the Exeter Chiefs, but I also agree with Neil's comments. Exeter, no mugs. I think I got over 22.5 and then over 23.5 points. It was a nice win for me there, but now I'm hoping the Stormers can do the business against Munster. Which way is your money going?
Brent, I'm going to this game. I'm taking the family. We actually, my boy is grade 1 now, and it's a few of his mates and the parents we've a few weeks ago already. We decided to go to this game. My brother and his wife and their children. So we're like I think 5 families going to this game. Big group. Just me and my brother of the group knows that I'm a punter. So the other parents don't know about my punting yet. And I'm in the Munster camp here, so I'm gonna have to support the Stormers, but I like Munster. Yeah, I like the overs on Munster a lot. That over 21.5, I think that's a great bet. Just because Dion isn't playing and he normally slows the ball down. He steals a lot of ball. I know there's other guys in the team like Steven Kitsoff that also slows it down and steals ball. But Dion Fourie is massive for the Stormers. And I know there was a lot of travel issues with last week's game at Exeter, and that obviously showed. But I reckon they missed Dion Fourie a lot there, and they're going to miss him again, in my opinion. It is a home game again for the Stormers. But yeah, the style the Stormers play, I think it tends to points as well for the opposition team, even though they've got good defense generally. I just think, I'm a fan of Graham Roundtree as a coach as well. He's done wonders with this Munster team. It can't be easy getting them to where they are now from Johan van Graan, because terrible coach they had last year, and now to get them at the level they are now at this so quickly after Johan van Graan, he must be a very good coach. So yeah, I'm fully in the Munster camp here. I think the over 21.5 Munster points is the best bet in this game for me. But I like the plus a bit here as well. And I would not, I know I'm going against a lot of guys here, but I would not be surprised if Munster win this game.
Right, so a little bit of a difference in opinion from what Neil and I were thinking on that game. Henrik, we'll stick with you for the next one. Connacht -7.5 v Cardiff. Now, this is the one game where I handicapped. I thought Connacht would be double-digit favourites here. I actually thought they'd be closer to 12.5. So I was a bit surprised when this cap came out, and it hasn't really moved all week, which suggests it's probably not going to move any further. Can you find anything in this game?
I haven't had a look at the teams here. I'm not sure whether the teams are out yet. Probably not. Like I like to take on the Welsh teams. So yeah, Connacht down there with the. I'm not sure what the weather is like. Lots of times the weather is really bad there. But Connacht is really tough to go and play there. So yeah, the minus for me on this one, Brent.
Just quickly before I bring Neil in there, having a look at the table. So Connacht currently sitting 6th, so still plenty to play for them. And we're trying to find their opponents now. Cardiff are, I think they're out of playoff contention. Are they? No, they're not. They're 10th. So they also they've also got something to play for there. Neil, is this one of the games you got anything for us on?
No, Brent. These games always give a little bit of a smirk my way, because I can tell you if Cardiff were at home in this game, the handicap would sort of be exactly the same in that -6.5, -7.5 point region. It's just a classic tale of the two sort of mid sort of table teams doing jostling against one another with not too much over on the line there. So I don't have a massive feel on this, but I do think that Cardiff have been a big side on the up. Connacht Lesser obviously scattered. There are a couple of sort of Irish internationals scattered, the likes of Mac Hansen and Bundy Aki and co. So I just think it's more of a gut feel on this one. I do think Cardiff cover the spread in this one. Not the biggest fancy, but I think it's worthwhile for a couple of coins.
Right, let's get into the last URC game of the weekend before we touch on a bit of Currie Cup. And here we got Edinburgh nil at -9.5 against the Ospreys.
Yeah, Brent, Edinburgh is just one of those teams that just continue to puzzle me. You look at them on paper and just look sort of stacked throughout, and you just expect them to smash sort of any sort of handicap that comes their way. But just week in, week out, they just can't put the goods together. They're languishing close to the bottom of the table. Just there has to be sort of alarm bells ringing throughout sort of the hierarchy of the Edinburgh side over there. But I just feel like welcoming a traveling Osprey side. I watched that Edinburgh game against Leicester Tigers in sort of trying conditions over in the Champions Cup. I think last round, or what was the early knockouts there, and I was quite encouraged by that performance that they put over at Walford Road here. So I just think welcoming an Osprey side who they're probably not expecting too much. I just can't see any other result but a resounding Edinburgh victory. So happy to take them on the minus in this one.
Right, Henrik, anything for you in the final game?
Brent, tough one. Probably have to go minus as well here. Ospreys, strangely enough, they're just above Edinburgh on the table. But yeah, at home, you probably have to go minus. And yeah, again, I like taking on the Welsh teams. There's a reason the Welsh teams are all clustered at close to the bottom of the table. So yeah, safe to, in my opinion, to always go against the Welsh team. So yeah, the minus here, but very, very little confidence on this one.
Yeah, it's actually it's one of those things where you look at games like this and you think, well, there's so many rugby games on the weekend. Let me not try and punt a winner in each of them. And I must say that's a decision I took a few weeks ago, and my punting form has just improved dramatically. Where I've sort of picked my games. Not to say I'm not punting 12 games a weekend. I'm just not punting 26 games a weekend. And I must say it's made quite a difference. And this is the sort of game where it's fairly unlikely I'm going to get involved. Just have a look at some of the live chats here. Stephen Marks, Ospreys on the plus. Noah van der Merwe coming in on Edinburgh. So big splits, both in terms of the on the live chat here, even though the panelists are a little bit more aligned. Right, guys, let's get into the Currie Cup. There's been some big line movements here, as there often are, and probably still some big line movements even to come. But let's start with the first game. This was Sharks minus 12.5 against the Bulls. And Hendrik, I think this game has moved in on the fact that the Bulls have named a stronger Currie Cup side than might have been expected. They're not they've taken a couple of guys you might have thought would be in the squad against Zebra and played them here.
Yeah, Pierre Kilian, who's on the show lots of times, he predicted early in the week on Twitter already that the Bulls might filter a few URC guys into the team, and like he predicted, it happened now, and they've got a few URC team players in the team. On paper, that Bulls team looks good for a Currie Cup team. Obviously not on the level of last week's Currie Cup team, but I think they can trouble the Sharks. The Sharks, they played really well last week against the Pumas in Durban. I watched that game. I think the conditions in Durban, the field looked heavy in my opinion, and that played against the Pumas style of play. I don't think that suited the Pumas at all. And the Sharks, well, they were full value for the win, and they played really well. I think the Bulls can trouble them here, and I think the Bulls can win this game.
Right, so the Bulls potentially on the board there, and quite a bit of money for them already. Neil, you did mention earlier on the show, you said a comment you fancy the Bulls to come back strongly across all levels. I'm guessing you're firmly in the Bulls camp here.
Yeah, Brent, this is one of my strong fancies of the weekend. I'm all over this Bulls plus. Yeah, to be honest, I'm willing to say that I don't even think you should bother to take them on the plus. They'll win this fixture. I've got no love for the Sharks side. I look at the team; it's a terrible Sharks side that they're putting out. Bulls the opposite. A couple of sort of URC players getting filtered through. You're getting a plus 7.5 for sort of two sides played on neutral territory. This is a Bulls minus 5.5 point handicap for me, and I don't think that home ground advantage plays too much, especially in the Currie Cup. Maybe a little bit with conditions and all that, but I just think that Bulls plus 7.5, it would have been a big morale booster after that Griquas performance, and I do think that will filter through to the rest of the camp here. So I just think that this is an absolute cracking play. Bulls plus the way to go. Stick the house on it, stick the granny's pension on it. This is the bet of the weekend, in my opinion.
Right, nice confident words there from Neil. Neil will stay with you for the next game. Here we got Western Province plus 14.5 against the Cheetahs. The Cheetahs, of course, 2 weeks ago hammered by the Pumas, but they were without pretty much their whole squad. They came back last week. They did the business against the Lions, and now they're strong favourites in Cape Town.
No, Brent, I like Western Province to cover this cap. This is also another strong fancy from me. I do understand sort of the sentiment from the Cheetahs, but I think that game against the Lions was sort of blown a bit out of proportion once the Lions received that red card here. I watched that Cheetahs game, and to be honest, I didn't think that they were great for large portions of the game. They looked to be playing in second gear for most of it, whereas this Western Province side is very plucky. We obviously take the rugby quite seriously down here in the south here. Lots of those Western Province players are sort of looking to make the step up into that sort of successful URC outfit. Dobson's had a hand in the coaching staff this season, unlike previous seasons in the Currie Cup squad. Plus 14.5, lots of talent in that Western Province side. They can score heaps of points on their day. Cheetahs often sort of go missing with defense. Ill discipline costs them. Yeah, for me, this is 7 points too big. So happy to side with the province on this.
No one saying he agrees on the Western Province cap. I do enjoy Nathan's comment though. He says the Currie Cup will never see his granny's pension. That could be some pretty sound advice there, Nathan, as well. Just Neil, quick one. Is this a double header then with the Stormers and Munster? Or
yeah,
it is
spot on, double. And just to echo Nathan's comments there regarding the granny's pension, and that's why he doesn't have two granny's pensions, because he hasn't put his granny's pension on a Currie Cup.
He hasn't grown granny's pension like you have. Fareed reckons often swims against the tide a bit. Cheetahs will beat this cap comfortably. Provinces disjointed. And then Johan coming in with his weekly treble. And Johan, before I forget, you won the final 1,000 Rand poker bet voucher in the Six Nations. And I did send it through, and the guys contacted me today that they missed it. They have credited your account, so you can go onto PokerBet and you've got a 1,000 Rand voucher there. His weekly treble, Chiefs win over 65.5, Moana game, and the Bulls plus 12.5. But let's hear what Hendrik says about this Province Cheetahs game.
Yeah, Brent, I'm with Neil here. I think Province will give the Cheetahs a big scare here. This is, like you said, a double header. It's a 3 o'clock kickoff in Cape Town, and then the Stormers game is 6:15 there. So there will be hour and a half or so gap between the games. Like I said, I'm going to the Stormers game. I probably won't be there for the Western Province kickoff. I'll probably still be in the waterfront having a few beers and having some lunch there, and then walk over to the stadium. But yeah, I will obviously watch the game on TV there, probably at Ferryman's or one of those places, and hopefully shouting Western Province home. Yeah, I like this plus a lot. I will be looking at Western Province overs here. And yeah, the Cheetahs, I took them on last week, and I obviously lost on that one. But again, I didn't like the team on paper, and I got it wrong. I called it wrong. But now, in my opinion, the team is even weaker. So yeah, I like Western Province a lot here. I think they will give them a big scare, and Western Province overs when the points line come out as well.
Well, I'm pleased you're actually not watching both games at the ground with the other parents, because it'd be bloody confusing when you're shouting Province home against the Cheetahs and Munster home against the Stormers. They wouldn't know what they wouldn't know what's going on with you there. Henrik, will stay with you for the next game. It's the penultimate game of the show and of the Currie Cup. We've got the Griffins here, plus 19.5 against the Pumas. I'm going to jump the gun here and just say I'm firmly in the Pumas camp here. I think they're going to absolutely put this Griffin side away.
Yeah, Brent, I've had a few strong fancies in the Currie Cup so far, but not as strong as this one. This is my strongest fancy in the Currie Cup. I agree with you. Pumas, they're going to bounce back properly here. Perfect conditions predicted in Welcome. They're going to smash this Griffin side. Jimmy Stonehouse would have drilled in this week. He would have been livid about that loss in Durban. He would have... that was the average Sharks team, and you wouldn't have liked that. The Pumas are going to win by a lot here, 30 plus easily.
Yeah, nice confident pick. Well, it's two of us with confident picks on the Pumas. Neil, interested to see where you come in here, because the Griffins, well, you got to say they've punched above their weight. They've beaten the Bulls, okay, a weakened Bulls side, but they've also, surprised me at times, especially early on in the game, the way they've led early and then maybe let things slip. What are you doing here?
No, Brent, this is a headache. I don't think it's as clear cut as it may be. Griffins are just one of those sides they just love to sort of go against the backer here. So I think that the sentiments are 100% correct. I think that Pumas has to be the way to go in this one. But just Griffins and Volcom, I don't even think the Pumas and Jimmy want to travel out there over in the buses. I don't even know if there's airports available to house these flights. If you can get a flight to Volcom, it's probably more expensive than a return ticket to London. Accommodation's absolutely dreadful here, so it's just not an easy place to go and travel. So it's just one of those places where it just has to be a bit of a banana skin over in this game. I think points will be the option. If I can get a little bit of a sniff of a Pumas sort of at a 38, 39.5, that'll definitely see my money. So I think that if you got any sort of uncertainties as I do in this game, it just seems that the Pumas have absolutely no reason not to cover the handicap, and I just think that that's where the problem lies in this one. Stick to the points in this one. It'll be a nice Sunday game. You can crack open a cold gold over at 2 p.m. Tune into some fantastic rugby from Volcom's finest, and hopefully we get gifted by a points line of about 62.5.
Yeah, that's what I'm also hoping for as well on points. But although, I am quite confident on the Pumas on that one. Farid saying Henrik, or as he calls you, Henrik, he is interested in hooking up with you if he goes to the rugby on Saturday. So always good. If you guys do hook up, please do put a photo on Twitter. It's always good to see the punters get together. I was very happy to meet Couch Critic for the first time last week while I was down in George, and also hook up with my partner at Good for the Game, Chris Sturdy. I've only hooked up with about 5 times since we've known each other. Farid says Pumas will maul the Griffins. Yes, Farid, we're on the same page with this one. Right, we've got one more game to go. Neil's going to get us going. At the Golden Lions, plus 7.5 against the Griquas. Neil, I haven't watched this one too closely. I'm not sure if there's been any line movement on this game.
Yeah, Brent, I think there's been about a 4-point shift in this one. I think it's sort of started at about Griquas minus 3.5, drifted to about 7.5. Handicap probably should be at about 18.5. I'm full board at above the Griquas here. This is the cracking punt in my opinion. This Golden Lions side is absolutely awful in my opinion. They're really just scratching sort of the bones of their arse and sort of the players that they can pick. Lots of unconditioned side, not too much sort of coaching structures, lots of ill discipline here. This Griquas side will be delivered with sort of their performance against the Bulls. But I, to be honest, actually thought that they played quite well for large portions of the game, especially in that second half, and denying the Bulls sort of a runaway showed a bit of character. It was always going to be a big bounce back from the Bulls in that one. So I just think that this game's right for the taking. Griquas will absolutely love to play the Lions away from home here. So -7.5 is the pick for me.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I like the Griquas here. You know, they beat Province away. They've turned in some good results after a slow start to the season. Henrik, what are you doing on this one?
Yeah, Brent, probably Griquas minus as well. But I reckon points is the way to go. Yeah, I reckon points will be a safer bet, especially Griquas points. Total points as well. I can see the Lions contributing as well. The minus probably the way to go. I agree with you guys, but I think points is a safer bet. Yeah.
Right, so going to focus on points. Just before we get into the best bets, Neil, I know you follow the Premiership closely, and I see there's some fixtures up. I haven't brought them all up, but before we get into the best bets, anything that catches your eye in the Premiership?
Yeah, Brent, I'll just speak on two games that catch my eye. I like Sale to do the business over Bristol. Bristol will be missing Simi Randranger. Weather looks like there's a bit of scattered sort of showers before kickoff. Very much plays into the hands of sort of the way that Sale like to play, like to keep it tight, like to play a set piece orientated game, get over the advantage line. Bristol very much sort of the free flowing attacking side. Sale can also sort of solidify its a top 4 position here, so fancy there. And then also, I really like Northampton to cover that -4.5 against Saracens. Northampton are incredible over at Franklin's Garden. It's an absolute carpets of a pitch. Saracens got a couple of bumps and bruises after that tough away fixture against La Rochelle. Rumour has it that they could be sending the kids over to Northampton. So if that's the case, this handicap could jump out to 12.5, 13.5. So I'm happy to stick my neck out and take that -4.5.
Right, now I'm coming in with his best bets. Munster plus Bulls win in the Currie Cup. I thought he was going to say Bulls to win the Currie Cup. I was going to say that's ambitious, but I get what you're saying there now. Fareed says Bristol for him. The Premiership is difficult this year. Right, let's get into our best bets now, guys. And I'm going to start, Henrik, with you. What are your best plays for the weekend?
Now, Brent, the Pumas on the minus in the Currie Cup. That's my best one of the lot. But if I have to give on the URC and the Super Rugby as well, I like the Chiefs overs in Super Rugby, and I like the Lions overs in the URC. So that 3, but my strongest is the Pumas minus.
Right, and we'll let thoughts on sports bring us home.
No, Brent, that Bulls plus in the Currie Cup most certainly up there. I like the Western Province plus in the Currie Cup. Just touching on the other games, I like Sharks to cover against Benetton. And then in Super Rugby, sure, tight one, probably. Let me just have a think about this. Yeah, probably Chiefs to edge out the Hurricanes in a thriller.
Yeah, take them on the board there. Fareed says Bulls over Zebra. That brings us to the end of the show. We've just scraped in under the hour mark. Well done, boys. And first of all, thanks to all the guys in the live chat. I think we had excellent contributions all the way through the show. Good to see the guys posting their best bets as well. Nathan saying, what is the Lions overs URC line, Henrik? Just checking.
27 and all. 27 and all. 27.
I mean, I must say I do like that one quite a lot. I don't think that's going to be there for very long. And Henrik, first of all, thanks for coming on the show. Great to have your contributions, and enjoy the rugby, man. Try not to shout too hard, because, when your money's down, even if you're trying to show that you're supporting the side that your money's against, when they score a try and you leap up and you shout for Munster, I mean, those parents are going to be looking at you. Your son's going to be going, my poor son doesn't support any side because I'm supporting a different side every week. It's something to consider as you're raising young kids. I kind of regret that a little bit, but enjoy the game.
Thanks. My boy is 7 years old now. He doesn't know that I punt yet. He always asks me for which team I'm shouting, because he sees I'm watching neutral games and not always the Storms game. what side are you supporting? And I always tell him which side I'm supporting, but yeah, he doesn't know I'm punting yet. He will get there probably in the next year or so because he is 7 years old already. But yeah, thanks, Brent. I'm looking forward to the game and just getting out with the people. Yeah, good luck to all the punters out there and enjoy the weekend. There's lots of rugby. Don't bet on every game. Pick your battles with the bookmakers.
Pick your battles, that's for sure. And then a guy who we don't think has got too many kids running around yet at this point, his thoughts on the sports. Neil, great to have you on the show, and you'll have a cracking weekend, man. Hope you have a nice sort of easy end to the work week as well.
Yeah, Brent, I think as Hendrik said, scattered thunderstorms of rugby all around this weekend. I'm not going to take Hendrik's advice and not betting on every game. I'm going to have some interest on close to most games this weekend. It's just one of those weekends where it's been tickling my fancy from sort of the Monday morning. There's so much value this weekend. I can't often say that about most weekends. Just one of those weekends where it's just setting up for some massive winners on the card. So looking forward to getting stuck out there.
Well, if you don't follow these boys on Twitter yet, you can follow Neil. Just search for Thoughts on Sports and the Undertaker at Henrik Swat. You can follow them on Twitter. Gents, thanks very much. It's been a great show. We'll see you next week, Thursday, for the Handicap Rugby Chat That Matters.